let's do a little bit of pranayama, and we'll do some pranayama with the intention of exploring how to deepen the breath in a way that's very comfortable. And the practice that we use most often for this is we call Durga Swasam, the slow, deep breathing practice. And we do this typically in 3 parts. And that inspires me to say just a little bit about the physiology of breathing. Probably everyone knows that the diaphragm muscle is a dome-shaped muscle that sits at the base of the rib cage. And that muscle, when we inhale, that muscle contracts and draws downward. And that downward movement of the diaphragm muscle creates a vacuum in the lungs and draws air in, ideally through the nose, because the nose has the capacity to filter the air that comes in and to help control the temperature of the air that comes in. So it helps us breathe in air in a way that's healthier, that sorts out anything that's inappropriate for us to take into the lungs. And it helps control the temperature. So with the diaphragm muscle pulling down, the abdominal organs get displaced a little bit. It causes the abdomen to puff out a little. Of course, the air itself is not coming into the abdomen. The air is coming into the lungs, but by the diaphragm muscle pressing down, it pushes the abdominal area out a little bit, causing a little movement out. As we continue to inhale and the lungs expand into the ribcage area where we're familiar with, we can feel that expansion happen both on the front of the ribs, the side of the ribs, and even the back of the ribs. The lungs expand in all those directions. And if we inhale thoroughly, the air can move all the way up into the upper lungs so that it even feels like we're breathing up near the collarbones, the apex of the lungs. So when we teach this Durga Swasam breathing, we often describe it as having 3 parts, a lower part, a middle part, and the upper part. In actuality, the breath doesn't first go only into the lower lungs, right? It comes through the trachea and divides into 2 places and going into each lung fairly equally. But that idea of 3 parts can be a way of helping us gain some control and visualize the movement of the diaphragm muscle and the movement of the air into the lungs. And for that reason, it's useful to be aware of our posture. So even before we start practicing Durga Swasam, deep breathing, it's useful to have a little attention to the posture. And for that purpose, I'll describe that for most people, we need to have some height, some lift under the hips. And that lift under the hips allows the knees to come a little more forward. In fact, maybe I'll lower my camera a little more so you can see this way, then I might move it back. That if the knees are up, it's very hard to sit up tall and to have the spine support our upright posture fully. So with some lift under the hips, for most people, that can help you lower the knees so that they're more even with the hips or even lower than the hips if possible. This support under the hips also helps create a little forward shift in the pelvis. Right? If I'm sitting this way, my back tends to be rounded and the lower back tends to be rounded. In actuality, the natural curve of the spine in the lower back should be an inward curve. So if I tilt my pelvis forward slightly, then I get that natural inward curve in the low back area. And then I'm really using the spine itself as the core of support. I'm using the skeleton to support my upright posture instead of the musculature. And that enables the body to be more relaxed. And using that, the natural curve of the spine enables me to sit up tall with the least amount of effort. All right, let's practice a little bit. So experiment with your seated posture. If you're not already familiar with a posture that works really well for you, get a little support under the hips or sit in a chair. Right? There's no shame in yoga sitting in a chair if that's what helps you be comfortable and steady. Ideally, if we have this lift under the hips and that little inward curve in the low back, that enables us to sit up really tall. With that skeletal support, it should enable us to release the shoulders downward so the shoulders can be really relaxed. It's very common to hold tension in the shoulders unintentionally. So see if you can consciously soften the shoulders and release them downward. Then typically in yoga, we have the hands relaxed on the thighs or in the lap. And if you like, you can place the hands in some kind of mudra, like the index finger and the thumbs together, with the palms down or with the palms up, or even one set of fingers on top of the other and the thumbs touching. It's another kind of mudra that can sit gently in the lap with the arms relaxed. So you can experiment with a mudra if you like. In addition, we want to feel an openness in the upper chest. So we want to avoid having the shoulders rounded forward or pinched too far back. If you find just the right place for the shoulders, there can be a nice openness in the upper chest and a lengthy feeling in the neck. Even we can give a little attention to relaxing the jaw and the cheeks. And if you're new to practicing this deep breathing, you could experiment with placing a hand on the abdomen. That might help you. Because we'll begin this three-part breathing by inhaling first in a way where we feel the abdomen puffing out, and then exhale, pressing the abdomen inward to have a complete exhalation. So start by just thinking of breathing in a way that expands the abdomen, and then pressing the abdomen inward to have a thorough exhale. When you press the abdomen inward, you can exhale more thoroughly. And then on your next inhalation, continue to expand and feel the breath move into the rib cage. And you could even place your fingers and thumb around the sides of the ribs to feel the ribs expanding. When you exhale, you can relax the rib cage and again pull in the abdomen to have a thorough exhale. As you inhale, feel the abdomen expand, the rib cage expand, and then let the inhale move all the way into the upper chest. Then simply relax the upper chest, relax the rib cage. Go at your own pace and complete each exhale by gently pressing in the abdomen to make it thorough. So try a few slow, steady, wave-like breaths, expanding the lungs fully. Go at your own pace, and then emptying the lungs thoroughly. So the breath becomes one wave-like motion, completely relaxed, and breathing always through the nose, assuming that there's no obstacle there.